Good morning, Willowbrook. Today's devotion is on John chapter 7. So let's dive in. There are 3 pilgrimage feasts that all natural-born Jewish men were commanded to attend, and each are important in the Jewish faith. First, the Passover, the Feast of Unleavened Bread. It commemorates Israel's deliverance from bondage in Egypt, and the saving blood of the Lamb that was put on the doorpost so the angel of death would pass over. The lamb was sacrificed, and the blood was placed on the door. Then the lamb was roasted and eaten. Blood on the outside, lamb on the inside. That's real cause for celebrating. Next was the Feast of Pentecost, or the Feast of Weeks, giving thanks for the harvest and praise for the coming year's harvest. The Holy Spirit was given during the Feast of Pentecost. And third was the Feast of the Tabernacles, a celebration of remembrance of God's presence. The word tabernacle means dwelling place, and God's provision for the Jews during their 40 years in the desert and of the coming promised Messiah. The beginning of chapter 7 has Jesus' brothers suggesting that he go to the feast and prove himself. They say, if you're the Messiah, right now's the time to show yourself. People are everywhere in their thinking and talking about the Messiah right now at the feast. Let the whole world see who you are. Now's the time. Now this sounds like Jesus' brothers believe that he's the Messiah, and they just want him to get the ball rolling. But verse 5 says, not even his brothers believed. Now to me, this is a shocking verse. You know that Mary has told the story many times of what the angel told her about who he is and how he got there. But they still wanted him to prove it. But Jesus tells them his time has not yet come. The mission wasn't to gain fame and popularity. He tells his brothers, you can go anywhere without worry. The world doesn't hate you, but the world hates Jesus because he shows them their evil works. Jesus didn't leave just happy and heal the people whenever he came through. Some of the people showed up later screaming, crucify him. They didn't like it when he called evil what it really was. And apparently we don't like it either. But evil is still evil, and sin is still sin, and wrong is wrong. Now most people, especially religious people, don't like to have their sins pointed out to them. Jesus tells his brothers, go ahead and go to the feast. But he comes to the feast later in secret. Now the whole discussion in the city, it was about Jesus. Some say he's a good man. Some say he deceives the people, but no one speaks out loud for fear of the Jews. A lot of people are like that today. They keep silent, scared of what people will think. Well, now that Jesus is in Jerusalem, he does what Jesus does. 2 different times, he starts teaching the people. The first time is in the middle of the feast. The people are amazed. He doesn't sound like the rabbis they've heard before. And the priests are amazed. How does he know so much, having not been educated? Well, now we come to the heart of the message. He's teaching from the Father. Verses 17 and 18. If anyone wills to do God's will, he will know whether his teaching is from God or whether I am speaking for myself. He who speaks for himself seeks his own glory. But he who seeks the glory of the one who sent him, his word is true. There is no unrighteousness in him. Now Jesus is standing and teaching in front of the high priests, the rabbis, and throngs of people wondering how he has so much knowledge. Jesus gives all the credit to God. His earthly mission is to follow the will of God, and God is given all the credit. Further, Jesus claims that a person's willingness to obey God is what determines their deeper understanding, not what the leaders were teaching. That understanding determines obedience. Now the next time he stands and teaches is on the last day of the feast. On the last day, a big splash was made. The leaders would get a big golden pot of water, parade it through the crowd, and pour it on the altar, giving thanks for God's provisions of manna from heaven and water from a rock, and for his presence with them while they were in the wilderness, and praise for the coming Messiah. Jesus stands up in the middle of the ceremony and proclaims to all, if anyone thirsts, let him come to me and drink. He who believes in me, as the scriptures have said, out of his heart will flow rivers of living water. Now he's talking about the Holy Spirit that will be given to believers after his glorification. No mere human could make such a claim. Only God in human flesh, God dwelling among us, could say this. His brothers want him to reveal himself. He just did to the whole world. And many couldn't see it. Jesus said in John chapter 4, whoever drinks the water I give will never thirst again. Now, he means anyone. Any Pharisee that wanted to kill him, any Jew that was confused, any Gentile, any drunkard, or any drug addict. Anyone. The only requirement is that you be thirsty for God. Now, being thirsty for God seems easy, but most people then and now don't recognize their thirst, or they seek to satisfy it in the wrong way. I think the message here is he doesn't want us to just be a golden pot of water. He wants us to be a river that flows living water to a thirsty world. Have a great day, Willowbrook.